Trap. Bees in
Bees
the
in the
trap.
trap. It kind of feels like the WNBA is the trap right now. At least coaching in the WNBA is a trap. Every time I look up, someone else is getting fired. And listen, we've talked about this in nauseum, right? There's only 12 teams right now.
ESPN found itself in some pretty hot water recently when reporter Elle Duncan's comments about Caitlin Clark's new coach Stephanie White ignited a social media firestorm. Duncan questioned if Clark, the rising star of the WNBA, sparked a fierce debate over player influence, leadership, and the role of media in shaping sports narratives. With fans divided and ESPN quietly assessing the fallout, one question lingers. Does this bold commentary reveal cracks in the WNBA's approach to player development or ESPN's approach to reporting?
Apparently, we're not allowed to say that because there's people that are on the moon.
Damn, Elle, you went to the women's summit.
So on her podcast, Elle Duncan really shook things up with her take on Caitlin Clark's coaching situation. If y'all didn't catch it, she dove into the whole deal with Stephanie White, the new head coach of the Indiana Fever, and whether she's the right fit for a young star like Clark. So on the podcast, she didn't hold back. Duncan started questioning how much of a say Clark had in bringing White on board, hinting that Clark's influence might have played a bigger role than people think. And honestly, it makes you wonder. The Fever's been scrambling to build a solid team structure around Clark, but if she did have a hand in picking White, there's way more to this story than we seen on the surface. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Duncan raised some serious doubts about whether White's appointment was really the best move for a team that's trying to find its footing. Sure, White's got the credentials, but Duncan was blunt in saying that it all felt a little rushed, almost like the Fever just wanted to fill the position without giving it the deep thought it needed. Now, she's starting to see a trend here. Coaching turnover in the WNBA has been pretty intense, with new hires coming and going in a flash. It's not just about White's background, which to be fair is really solid. It's about what that kind of quick hiring does to the development of players like Clark. When y'all talking about a league still fighting for stable growth, these rapid-fire coaching changes start to look like cracks in the foundation, and Duncan's not the only one noticing. She's tapping into a broader conversation about whether teams like the Fever are setting players up for real success or just playing a dangerous game of musical chairs with their coaching staff.
And it was that, you're going and you're trying to get all of these coaches that have never coached at a professional level, that were a little bit in over their heads, and didn't really know what to do, how to coach professional women. And they were trying to coach with this sort of college approach, this college
Yeah.
style. And that what she's seen change the most is just how much better the talent pool has gotten of coaches, how much more money they're making. She brought up Becky Hammon getting that $1 million contract.
People are definitely wondering if this incident with Duncan hints to a shift in how ESPN handles sensitive commentary on air. With their coverage of the WNBA and other women's sports expanding, ESPN's got to walk a tightrope between giving their reporters freedom to say what they think and keeping things fair and balanced. And this isn't the first time somebody from ESPN has stirred up a reaction with bold opinions of the WNBA. But now, as women's sports are gaining a bigger audience, and with stars like Caitlin Clark attracting so much attention, the network might be feeling more pressure to be careful about what kind of commentary they let slide. Interestingly, ESPN's decision not to respond directly to Duncan's comments could be a sign that they're taking a more laid-back approach, maybe allowing their commenters more freedom to speak their minds, especially when it's about topics that pull in way more viewers for the WNBA. As for Stephanie White, she's been nothing but enthusiastic about stepping into this role, and she's practically glowing with excitement, saying, "I just can't wait. Caitlin is such a student of the game. She loves basketball and has handled all the attention so well. She just wants to play, she just wants to win, and I'm looking forward to coaching players like that on this young team." So White seems pretty genuinely eager to work with Clark and sees her as somebody who brings a lot of heart and drive to the court, which she's hoping to build around as they push the team forward. This whole mix of perspectives, from Duncan's strong opinions to White's optimistic outlook, only makes the story even more interesting as it all unfolds.
And was still fired. And then Steph White, who said, "I'll hold your first round exit and I'll take you all the way, a game away from the finals. And I'll
Yeah.
also get fired after 2 years," which was wild to me because if you ask people around the league, people would tell you that Steph White's amongst the best coaches.
So Duncan's comments about the whole Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White coaching dynamic lit up social media with a range of reactions from fans. sparking hashtags, memes, and passionate posts. And we're talking about all of this across platforms like Twitter, Insta, and Facebook, where opinions were surprisingly sharply divided. Some fans rallied behind Duncan's viewpoint, applauding her for voicing concerns that they felt weren't being discussed enough. They argued that her points raised a valid question about whether Caitlin Clark's input was really taken into account in the decision to hire White. For these fans, Duncan's comments reflected their skepticism about whether the Fever had made the right choice for Clark's development and the team's future.
The parity and the similarities that we've seen in other leagues. And I think as a net positive or as a net total, I think it is a sign that the WNBA is expediting their competitive process. In that, I mean, remember George Karl, Monty Williams, Dwayne Casey, all of those coaches in the NBA were fired after being named Coach of the Year, right? And being taking their NBA franchises to the playoffs and deep into the playoffs.
The reaction to Duncan's comments also reflects broader sentiments the fans have about the WNBA, Caitlin Clark's career, and the media's role in shaping narratives around women's sports. A lot of fans are invested in seeing Clark succeed and develop into a superstar, and they feel that she deserves a coach who's going to maximize her potential. But there's also a strong sentiment among WNBA followers about the league's issues with coaching turnover, which they feel affects player development and team cohesion. Several comments on social media highlighted the fact that the WNBA, with its limited number of teams, has got a high rate of coach replacements, and fans are eager to see more stability in team leadership. Duncan's remarks seem to tap into this frustration, with some fans suggesting that the Fever's frequent coaching changes could hinder Clark's progress and development.
So I think this is maybe an indication of WNBA teams, franchises, ownership groups expecting more, expecting better. It is definitely stark when you think about, okay, 7 coaches. Well, on Black Monday in the NFL, we see 7 coaches get fired. We see 7 vacancies. Oh, well, there's 32 teams.
This incident also brought attention to ESPN's coverage of women's sports, with some fans are praising Duncan for speaking openly about the WNBA's challenges, while others are criticizing her for what they felt was unnecessary drama. Supporters felt that Duncan's comments were beneficial because they forced a conversation about the future of one of the league's brightest stars and the importance of creating a supportive environment for her. Critics, though, they argue that these kinds of speculations only adds unnecessary pressure on both Clark and White, especially when they're just starting to work together. For them, ESPN's focus ought to be on celebrating the positive effects of women's sports rather than introducing controversies that could be disruptive to a young team.
After 1 year, but these coaches have had 2 years. You can't really implement any real change in 2 years. And if you're Steph White, like, you got your team. Your team was for a large
crazy.
part of the season the number 1 team, or sitting in the 1, position.
Clark, known for her fierce determination and focus on the game, has generally taken a positive stance on the hiring of Stephanie White as her new coach, welcoming the opportunity to learn from White's extensive experience in the WNBA. Publicly, Clark has expressed her excitement about the fresh leadership and insights that White brings to the Indiana Fever, stating that she looks forward to growing under White's guidance. As a star player with incredible potential, Clark's words carry weight, and her support for White has resonated with many fans who are eager to see how this partnership is going to unfold. For Clark, the prospect of working with a coach who has both played and coached in the WNBA offers a unique opportunity to elevate her game and understand the nuances of professional level play.
If you look at Indiana in particular, to make the postseason after not making the postseason since 2016. And you also have to think about the development for the players. I mean, this is now another coach that Caitlin Clark. I immediately joked and was like, Lisa Bluter is going to come out of retirement. Caitlin Clark, Iowa coach, and she's going to go there.
Clark's role with the Fever goes way beyond that of a typical player. Now she's seen as the team's future, the face of the franchise, and somebody with the potential to draw fans and build a loyal following for the Fever. Given her impact on the court, it's pretty clear that the Fever's management views her as a foundational piece around which they want to build. A stable and supportive coaching environment is crucial for Clark's development, especially as she transitions fully from college basketball to the professional level, where expectations are sky high and the pace is intense. With White as her coach, Clark appears to have confidence in the Fever's direction, a sentiment that should help foster trust and focus within the team.
And, for Aaliyah Boston, that's going to be, her second coaching change. This will be the same thing for Caitlin Clark. So you just wonder how much you're stunting their potential development or growth, or at least delaying it by bringing in a new regime. But I've got to believe that they've got some plan here. I don't know.
Though she hasn't directly responded to Duncan's comments, Clark's openness to White's coaching suggests that she isn't really overly concerned with external opinions about the hire. Instead, she seems intent on putting in the work and collaborating with White to help the Fever succeed. By focusing on building a strong connection with White, Clark is signaling that she's more interested in what happens on the court than in any debates swirling around outside of it. Yeah, her professionalism and dedication to the team reflect a maturity that fans and analysts alike find impressive. Her focus on her craft and her support for her new coach demonstrates her commitment to personal and team growth, suggesting that she values action over speculation.
Certainly LeBron now probably has some say, or at least is given a heads up, these are the candidates. Do you have any thoughts? But I don't think that Caitlin Clark was it was one of those, I don't think it's Gladiator, right? Where he's does he live or does he die? I don't think it's anything
win the
like
crowd,
that.
win your freedom.
Looking ahead, her partnership with White looks like it's got significant promise. You got White's background and Clark's skills and talents, so this duo's got the potential to shape the Fever into a competitive force. For Clark, this new chapter represents an opportunity to hone her skills under White's guidance and take her game to new heights. By embracing White's leadership, Clark is setting the tone for what could be a transformative period for the Fever, one where both player and coach can work in unison to achieve their shared goals. Fans can only hope that this relationship is going to provide Clark with the foundation that she needs to thrive in the WNBA and bring the Fever back to prominence. White's journey to becoming the head coach of the Indiana Fever is marked by a wealth of experience and dedication to the game, both as a former player and as an established coach. White's credentials are impressive, having previously coached the Fever and led them to the WNBA Finals in 2015. Not to mention her deep understanding of the league and familiarity with the Fever's culture make her a natural choice to lead the team. In addition to her experience with the Fever, White's also coached at the collegiate level, where she gained a reputation for her strategic approach and ability to develop young players. Now, this blend of professional and experience in college positions her as a versatile coach who knows how to handle the demands of the WNBA while also nurturing emerging talent like Caitlin Clark. In recent interviews, White has shared her goals for the Fever, focusing on building a strong, resilient team that plays with purpose and cohesion. White emphasized her commitment to creating an environment where players can grow individually while contributing to the team's overall success. She also acknowledged her pressure of guiding young rosters with a player of Clark's caliber, noting that her approach is going to be one of patience and support, allowing players to find their strengths and play to their fullest potential. White sees Clark as a central figure in the Fever's future, and she's expressed excitement about working with her to unlock her full range of skills. Look, her focus on teamwork, her discipline, and continuous improvement is resonating with fans who want to see the Fever reach even new heights. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below which side of this argument you fall on.